Have you ever heard of something so good that even your biggest rivals had to admit it was the best? Well, that's the story of ancient Persian gold. We're going to dive into how they pulled off this legendary feat of wealth and engineering.
I mean, just let that sink in for a moment. The Greeks, the Persians' greatest competitors, had to go on record and say, yep, their gold is better than ours. This wasn't just talk, it was a known fact across the ancient world. The quality was just off the charts.
So, that's the big question, isn't it? How did they do it? Was it some kind of ancient magic, a lost technique, or was it something else entirely? A perfect mix of incredible resources, genius-level engineering, and a system of control that was way ahead of its time? Well, we're about to find out.
Okay, our first clue is all about location, location, location. You see, the Achaemenid Empire wasn't just big, it was basically sitting on a geological jackpot.
Right in their own backyard, what we now call Iran, was an absolute treasure trove. From the Gilan Mountains, way up north, down to the Zagros Belt, they had gold everywhere. And what's really wild is that the Kurdistan region, which was likely first mined under orders from Darius the Great, is still the richest gold mine in Iran today. We're talking about ancient, enduring wealth.
Now this is where the Persians were incredibly smart. When they conquered Lydia, in modern-day Turkey, they didn't just get more land. No, they basically acquired the Silicon Valley of ancient metallurgy. They got their hands on the famous Pactolus River with its gold-filled sands. They captured the state-of-the-art workshops in Sardis, and they absorbed all the knowledge from the very people who invented gold coins in the first place. What a score!
And of course, they didn't stop there. Conquering Egypt meant gaining access to the super-rich mines of the eastern desert. Pushing east, they found even more gold in the riverbeds of ancient Bactria. That's modern-day Afghanistan. And according to the historian Herodotus, their lands in the Indus Valley paid more gold in tribute than anywhere else in the empire. The sheer scale of their resources was just mind-boggling.
So, okay, they had this massive treasure map loaded with gold, but how in the world did they get it out of the ground and make it so incredibly pure? Well, that brings us to our second clue, their engineering genius.
The Achaemenids were masters of two totally different approaches. When gold was stuck deep inside mountains, they used hard rock mining, which was tough, dangerous work. But for the little flakes of gold found in rivers, they used a much smarter technique called placer mining, which was all about using water to do the heavy lifting.
For that hard rock mining, they had this brilliant and frankly pretty intense technique called fire setting. They'd build huge bonfires right up against the mountainside, heating the rock until it was scorching hot. Then, they'd throw cold water on it. The sudden temperature drop would cause the rock to crack and splinter, giving them a way to get at the gold veins inside. It's brute force, but it's also genius.
And their placer mining, just as clever. You know the myth of Jason and the Golden Fleece? Well, it turns out that probably wasn't just a myth. It was likely describing a real mining technique where they'd lay sheep's wool in a stream. The tiny, heavy gold flakes would get caught in the fibers. The Persians totally perfected this method.
Okay, so once they had the raw gold ore, this is where the real magic happened. They used a process called cementation, which was basically ancient chemistry. They'd mix the crushed ore with salt and clay, then bake it all together. The salt would react with any silver mixed in with the gold, and the clay would absorb it, leaving behind almost pure gold. This was a huge technological leap forward. And if that wasn't enough, they also perfected another advanced method called copulation. You can think of it like a chemical filter. They'd heat the impure metal with lead, which would bond with all the other junk metals and get absorbed into a porous material, leaving just the pure gold and silver behind. Using both cementation and copulation was their one-two punch for getting perfect gold every time.
So having all the right resources and the best technology is great, but to manage all that across an empire stretching for thousands of miles, you need a system. And the Persians had an incredible one. This was not a bunch of guys with pickaxes, this was a full-blown industrial machine run by the state.
Everything was controlled from the top down. The regional governors, or satraps, kept a close eye on all the mining operations. All the raw gold they found was shipped straight to the royal treasuries. From there, it went to royal workshops in big cities like Susa and Persepolis, where the king's own artisans turned it into coins, jewelry, and whatever else he wanted. There was zero room for error.
And what did they do with all this gold? Well, look at this breakdown. A huge chunk, 40%, went into making coins to standardize their economy. The rest was used to power the empire. It funded their massive armies, paid for awe-inspiring monuments, and was used to make lavish royal gifts that kept powerful people loyal. Gold was literally the fuel in their imperial engine.
The ultimate product of this entire incredible system was this, the dark. It was a single coin weighing a super consistent 8.35 grams, made of gold that was nearly 100% pure, and that consistency was everything. It meant that no matter where you were in the ancient world, you knew a dark was worth its weight in pure gold.
And that's no exaggeration. Because it was so pure and so reliable, the Persian dark basically became the reserve currency of its time. It was the standard. It was the benchmark. It was, for all intents and purposes, the dollar of the ancient world.
All right, so now we've got all our clues laid out on the table. The treasure map of resources, the brilliant engineering, and that ironclad system of control. Let's put it all together and finally solve this thing.
The secret to Persian gold wasn't just one thing. It was this powerful four-part recipe. First, they had access to the best raw materials from across their vast empire. Second, they used clever engineering to get it out of the earth. Third, they had these almost secret chemical refining methods that nobody else could match. And finally, it was all managed by a strict, centralized system that guaranteed absolute quality.
It's just an amazing reminder of what ancient civilizations were capable of. The story of Persian gold isn't just about being rich. It's about incredible ingenuity and organization. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other secrets of ancient technology and engineering are still buried out there, just waiting to completely change what we think we know about the past?